Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Chojin X Chapter 14. When we last left our heroes, Shiozaki had basically collapsed the building that everyone was in. Momoma couldn't really go after him because she was protecting a slab from crushing Tokyo. Simon's arm was broken, and he did something called raising himself, when he slit his own neck, caused a bunch of blades to spawn out of his arm, and then healed himself, and he used the term earlier for Shiozaki. I'm not quite sure what exactly raising is, but something to keep an eye on. Ellie is the first one to kind of reach Shiozaki, and she tries to, burn Shiozaki up to get him to stop, I think, and maybe also she would have burned herself up, too. In that moment, though, Tokyo hears Shiozaki's voice in his mind, complaining about how hot Ellie's powers are. And so he's starting to get the idea that maybe Shiozaki is still conscious in there. Simon disagrees. He makes it to Shiozaki and just gets right to work trying to kill him, puts everything he has into one last blade attack that doesn't really work. Tokyo saves Ellie, and Tokyo then rises back up to try to get through to Shiozaki any way he can, specifically by having a kind of baseball match. Tokyo brings direct reference to the fact that he's got some kind of baseball bat shaped like a pipe or something, and describes himself as going up against a Koshiden pitcher, which might be the clue to getting Shiozaki back to himself. Again, Simon does not think that's possible, but maybe going back to Shiozaki's moment of becoming a Chojin might de-chaosify him. I don't know. Anyway, let's dive right on into Chapter 14, Sinker Part 6, Sayonara, which seems like either Shiozaki's gonna die or the arc is going to end. Sayonara meaning goodbye, of course. We open where we left off, with Tokyo with his pipe staring down Shiozaki, and Simon notes him, "Kurohara, that idiot, what is he?" And Shiozaki readies his pitch. Tokyo notes that we see Shiozaki's grip kind of tighten on the makeshift, I think it's some rubble he's using as a ball. And Shiozaki pitches it, and it looks like it goes right past Tokyo. I'm not, it doesn't feel like he's aiming for Tokyo. That feels like it'd be right in his strike zone if this was a game of baseball. Which, again, fits the idea that Shiozaki never quite, especially now that he's in this sort of more bestial form, never quite left that day at the baseball game. But anyway, Tokyo notes it. That was fast. Was that about 200 kilometers an hour? I'm not sure, but I could see it. Do vultures have some kind of enhanced vision that would let him see that? Either way, definitely shaping this up into a baseball game. A vulture can spot a corpse from a kilometer away. So yeah, there is some enhanced sight capabilities to vultures. That little blurb there doesn't quite seem to be talking about motion, but I'll allow it. I've beastified into a vulture. I have no idea if I have the same abilities, but in beast form, I can see Shiozaki's nasty pitch. And he clanks the end of his pipe on the ground, almost again, like a batter knocking his bat on home plate. Now I just need to use everything I learned as a Little League Penguin to hit it! We'll see how well that turns out. I did not get the impression he was a great baseball player in Little League. And Shiozaki pitches again, and it knocks off Tokyo's arm. Okay, that's not great. Obviously shocking Tokyo. Gah! Ah! And just then Momoma arrives, shocked at Tokyo having lost his arm. Kurohara! A fastball that was about 300 kilometers an hour. Ow! It looks like his arm isn't actually off in this panel. It's just sort of grazed, or maybe he's regenerating. I'm not quite sure. But Tokyo notes, I'm not sinking. Maybe because it just grazed me? But what do I do with my arm like this? So that is sort of implying that it's not a regeneration, that it was just a graze from the pitch, and because it didn't quite hit him all the way, Shiozaki's powers didn't enact. And then we cut back to Simon slitting his throat again. Not sure what exactly is going on there. I don't know why he needs another raise, if raising is like a healing trick. I don't know. I think this is Tokyo's line. Momoma. That thing where Kagemura sort of killed himself. Is that something I can do too? That Ray, whatever it is. Okay, that's him flashing back to what Simon did. And Momoma reacts, raise? And Kagemura as well. Raise? And Tokyo meets them all head on. Raise! But if you can't do it, you'll die for... And Tokyo tells her, please! And Simon snaps, Momoma, you can't, he's a rookie! Momoma, please! And they both keep yelling, Momoma, Momoma! This is the only way to stop him without getting near him. Don't! Please! I want to save Shiozaki! So we're seeing... Again, I keep thinking this arc is sort of getting into a discussion of rigid rules-based worldview and a more fluid, shades of gray worldview. As, Simon here is saying you can't, he's a rookie. He's not strong enough, he can't handle it. Tokyo's like, I have to, it might not be the right thing to do, but I have to if I'm going to save him. Which again, Simon also doesn't think either can or should be done. I don't know. I want to save Shiozaki. And then we see Momoma reacts, Kurohara. And we have this flashback of, I guess, a prior strength Chojin. We know Chojin powers can be passed on. So maybe it's her predecessor. Sort of muscular man. Maiko, I'm coming to save you right now. And Momoma sort of accepts his feelings and runs towards him. Grit your teeth! And Tokyo reacts, okay! And Simon kind of stutters, Moma! And Momoma just drop kicks him. I guess breaking his neck with her strength powers. Because Tokyo doesn't quite look to be in a good position after his neck is so extended like that. Maiko looks back, and we see this image of feathers. And Tokyo is now in an even fuller beastification form. His mask is finished. He has this sort of feather cloak behind him. He does look more powerful there, like that Ray's work. And he calls out, Shiozaki! And he slams his foot on the ground. Make it a sinker! Pointing right at him. Please make it a sinker! Is a sinker an easy... Because that was Shiozaki's oh, I see what he's going for here. That was Shiozaki's special move. And that was specifically the pitch that Shiozaki was going for when he first became a Chojin, when he first activated his powers. So I think he's trying to recreate that moment as much as possible. So that maybe if Shiozaki actually makes the pitch land this time, it might break free of his chaos state? Again, no one really knows. Anyway, we get this flashback, though, of Tokyo watching Shiozaki. Shiozaki gets another one, a strikeout! No high school kid's going to be able to hit that. And you see Tokyo watching, which again is weird because I thought Tokyo didn't know Shiozaki, right? I had no idea Shiozaki was at his school. But the way he acts there, Shiozaki's sinkers are so cool. Implies that he's aware of this guy. I'm going to watch it again. And he rewinds it. Shiozaki strikes another one out. I'll watch from another angle. Shiozaki! And we see it's just just Tokyo watching this pitch over and over again, which again doesn't quite feel like it meshes with what we knew about Tokyo and Shiozaki at the beginning. I don't know. It's a little recent to retcon something. Shiozaki was only introduced 5 or 6 chapters ago to Tokyo, and so it's sort of odd to be actually at the beginning Tokyo didn't recognize Shiozaki, but now he's a big fan. I don't know. It's all kind of weird. I'm unbeatable when it comes to worshipping someone. I watch the crap out of Shiozaki's sinkers. So long as I have my vision and my beast form, this might work. I do, though, like the callback to, one of Tokyo's defining traits is being the vulture, the sort of, hovers around the more powerful people, like we saw with Azuma. I don't know. But Shiozaki sort of has that single thought, sinker, in response to Tokyo's plea. And it looks like Shiozaki himself is flashing back to his time as a human. We see what looks like the Chojin Shiozaki on a makeshift pitcher's mound. Maybe he's found a small hill to sort of function as that. We see his teammates cheering him on. We see the beast form, Shiozaki. We see a rock on the ground that Shiozaki bends down and picks up. And he pitches it right towards Tokyo. Tokyo takes a step, and he swings, and he connects. Right in the center of the pipe, sends it, not quite flying, actually. It sort of spins up off the ball like a pop fly. Momomo watches. Simon, I can't even tell if he can see at this point. But Tokyo, I think just kind of, is he running in like a facsimile of like running the bases? I'm not sure. But he does kind of panic when he sees that the ball sort of turned into a pop fly. And did he just turn into a bird? Did Tokyo just turn into a full-on vulture? Did he go a step further in his transformation? I don't know. But we see someone thinking, I'm guessing this is Shiozaki, watching the pop fly. I'm trash. A garbage Chojin. And we see a ... That one isn't pointing at Shiozaki. But Shiozaki just watches the ball. He's just watching it, and he walks by, confusing Tokyo, who I think is in the air right now. And Shiozaki turns back to watch the ball, and as it falls, Shiozaki calls, in human speak, in Japanese I presume, I got it! Okay. So it does look like Tokyo might have been right on the money there. And yeah, with that, he catches it. Just like he would have done back as a baseball player. And his power makes him sink. He collapses into the ground. We see this sort of hole in the ground. And Tokyo, who I thought was flying, he might have just transformed into nothing but a head. That might be what's going on there. I can't quite make out what is going on with Tokyo right now. What kind of state is he in? Is he flying in the air? Because on page 20, when we see him, the page 20 and page 25 have like nearly identical panels of Tokyo. But on page 20, it looks like there's a whole cityscape below him. And on 25, it's just the ground? I'm not sure at all what's going on with Tokyo right now. But Ellie pops out of her hole, where she got sunk last chapter, and is shocked at what she sees. Oh, it's just... Oh, I think I figured out what happened. So when Tokyo hit it, he was affected by the sinking power. So he hits the ball, which is still being hit by the sinker-powered base or rock, and he plops into the ground. So what we've been seeing is just his head above the ground, which is what Ellie holds on to. She sees just his mask on the ground. Tokyo! Tokyo! And she tries to pull him up, but we see Tokyo's neck coming out of the ground as Ellie hugs him. And Simon watches all this. Tokyo calls, ouch! And Ellie, Tokyo? And Simon gnashes his teeth. And Momomo walks up to him, Simon, this is obstruction. That outsider. So here we're getting to what I thought was going to be the point of all this, is the sort of contrast between rules and taking reality as it is. But we then see Shiozaki, who is back to his human state, post catching that fly ball. I personally think he did a great job. I'm not quite sure if that's... I read that as Momoma. That might be Simon. Might be a bit of a twist there. But my gut's telling me it's Momoma. But anyway, sometime later, we get these helicopters arriving. We're introduced to Yamato Mori Keeper, Ichiro Sato. And someone comes up to him, Mr. Sato, we found these at the scene. Was Ichiro Sato one of the guys we met very briefly when Shiozaki first showed up at Yamato Mori? He might have been. I might be mistaken. And those chapters are locked behind the paywall now, so I don't know. Anyway, this guy holds them. More of these syringes. Seems like someone's intentionally making more Chojin. And we cut to the hand Chojin, which I guess are the ones who've been hit with this serum, which means they're involved with that masked man. Somehow. I mean, the same way Johnny was in the pilot, but still. Anyway, Sato looks at them. Well, it looks like they weren't exactly blessed with abilities. One of the other guards notes, so the trainees did well. So Eliada and the beastified Kurohara. And apparently, this is not so late. This is not so late that Tokyo and Ellie have left, because they're still there. Tokyo asks, I wonder if Shiozaki is all right. And the flunky comments, looks like they're going to be powerful assets. And Sato notes, I think we should enlist them in Yamato Mori, by force if necessary. But Sandek is so damn stubborn. Okay. So it does look like we are getting into a critique of a rigid, rules and laws based society here. But it's more shaded than I initially thought. The Sato guy, I think, is very much, he's okay with Ellie and Tokyo helping out in this case, but he also thinks we need them on our side by force if necessary, which is never a good sign. No good guy talks about, enlisting people by force if necessary. But he seems to be at odds with Sandek, who, given that but Sandek is so stubborn line, I don't think would enlist them by force. He might ask them to join, but I don't think he'll do it by force. So I don't know. Let's continue. And we cut back to that tower that Tokyo and Ellie commented on, or talked about earlier in the arc. The creature of the tower kindles the flame once again. We see there's smoke coming from it. Could that be Chandra? Yeah, it is. Because we cut to Chandra, who asks, do you feel it? No, that's someone else asking, do you feel it? And Chandra responds, yes, I feel it, Hume. And it's this guy. Okay. So you know how Shiozaki's gang had one hand for a head? This guy has got two arms and prayer, and has what looks like wings sprouting from his back. He is definitely a cool design. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he's connected to the masked guy, but he seems to be who Hume is working for. I feel it, Hume. The birth of one of my beasts. And the last shot we see is a bunch of desiccated corpses or near dead bodies just lying on top of each other. To be continued. God, that's a visual. God, that is just a visual right there at the end. Okay, so let's talk about this chapter. I really, really loved it. It was really pretty much exactly what I wanted in the climax of this arc. Playing the baseball metaphor to its extreme, with Shiozaki just literally becoming, or Shiozaki and Kurohara getting into a baseball game. Shiozaki and Tokyo hits that damn pitch, and just seeing that, and seeing that pop fly brings just enough humanity to Shiozaki again that he catches the ball and he goes down with it, of course, but that's what restores his humanity. It's great. The panel layout's all really good. I realized I missed 3 pages of the middle here. It's 3 pages of Shiozaki winding up the pitch. So it's not a chapter where a lot of stuff, not 3 pages where a lot of stuff happens, but it's continuing that sort of trying to think. It does sort of play up that moment, echoing the moment where Shiozaki first became a Chojin. We see the sinker all around Shiozaki. We see this moment of what looks like a pitcher and a catcher, not a pitcher and a batter for some reason. No, I was reading it wrong. The one closer to us on page 15 is Shiozaki, is the pitcher. I thought that was a catcher, and I thought the one in the distance was the batter was the pitcher because I couldn't see a bat on him. But I think this is, highlighting how this moment is an echo of that last pitch where Shiozaki became a Chojin. And so it is, of course, as I was alluding to last chapter, and as we see play out now, that is the moment that makes Shiozaki find himself again. And I do love that little bit. Now that I've worked out what happened there, that bit where Tokyo like falls to the ground, he's won, but like he got his ass whooped too. But then yeah, Shiozaki's back to himself, and then we end with again a bit of conflict between Simon and Momoma. I really am not quite sure who's supposed to say that last line. I personally think he did a great job. It's one of those things that like who says that is vital to working out the dynamic between both these two characters, between Simon and Maiko, and between Simon and Tokyo and Ellie. Because if it's Simon saying, I personally think he did a great job, it's showing that, like, maybe he's a little frustrated that that's not how it's supposed to work. He's some kid who has no experience with his powers, but he helped anyway, so that's something. If it's Maiko, then we're seeing a conflict not just between Simon and Tokyo and Ellie, but between Simon and Maiko. I don't know. We'll see how all that plays out later. I just really wish we knew who was talking there. Maybe, like, the Japanese uses a particular first-person pronoun that makes it obvious, and so Ishida doesn't really feel the need to show it. I don't know. There's just... I wish I knew who was talking there so I could really get into what I think is going on with that scene. But then we have Sado, and we see that this incident is once again connected to the Masked Man, which seems to be a completely different force from what's going on with Hume. But again, Sado is a bit of an interesting character. We'll see how he ends up, but I'm not particularly trusting of this guy. I think he's not exactly going to end up an ally. I'm not sure how, like, he's sort of you will work for me, but like for good. You're going to be like conscripted to be a good guy, I guess, is what it seems to be. If we're accepting the kind of black and white dichotomy, which again, not sure we really should be. And then we have this bit with Hume, which is just funky. I don't know what else to say about it. The birth of one of my beasts. Could that be involved with Tokyo? Because Tokyo was kind of... I mean, if you look at Tokyo and Ellie, right? If we assume that the Masked Man and Hume and this hand creature are separate, then Tokyo and Ellie kind of are examples of people who became Chojins through each of those two organizations, right? Tokyo became a Chojin by the masked group Serum, and Ellie had her power passed down to her by Hume, who works for this hand thing. But if they're the same... But the problem with that is Ellie is not really a beast kind of Chojin, and she didn't really do much here. Like, this was a big Tokyo moment. Tokyo sort of stepping into his own, using everything he had to sort of reach Shiozaki, and also unlocking this raising power for the first time. So, like, if anyone's being birthed, especially given that Tokyo is sort of a beast-type Chojin, I would assume it's Tokyo. But it's Hume who gave Ellie her powers. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I just don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait until whenever Ishida graces us with the next chapter to really work out what's going on, what any of that means. But for now, we're left with a really, really good finale to this Shiozaki arc. Shiozaki is brought back to himself. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff to dig into with Shiozaki once he's sort of brought back to life, but we'll deal with that later, I think. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!